Welcome back. We have started a new series this week, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will jump right in and get going. All right. And so before we get going, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, click the thumbs up, give us a like, and help us out there. Click the alert button. And if you know of somebody that can benefit from this series and you don't want to have that conversation, or maybe they're not receptive to hearing it from you, share the video series with them. Maybe I can be helpful and bridge that gap for you, but I think that it'll be good for them. If they're ready to start a business or don't have any idea in terms of where to get going, just have a good idea. This will help potentially get them going and at least get some movement going behind it. So before we cover number 4 and 3, I'm just going to give you a brief recap. And when I do these recaps, this is not to replace the prior videos that I've done, right? I go into way more detail and depth in those prior videos. So just consider going back and taking a look at the whole series, because there's some things that, I go into that I don't cover in the brief recaps here. So again, trying to give you some bonus tips here outside of just the top 10. Determine if you need to hire anybody. If you know that you need to hire somebody, determine when you need to hire them, and then consider if you need to hire them full-time or part-time, and then also consider hiring them contract versus W-2. That was bonus tip number 10. You need to establish an FEIN. And an FEIN is a federal employer identification number. It's basically the social security number of your business. You need that to file taxes with the federal government, with your state governments as well. And then you also are going to need that if you're doing any kind of business with with big businesses as well. They want to see your FEIN. Typically, they don't do a lot of business with sole proprietorships. It varies though. And then you're going to also need that to hire people, because you're going to have to pay taxes for them, payroll taxes, Social Security, all of that, right? So you have to be able to have that in order to get going in business. Number 9, you're going to also need to register your business with the state, with a state, right? Typically. So just because you're operating and doing business in your state does not necessarily mean that you have to register your business in that state in terms of where you're going to be paying your taxes. There's tax advantages to registering your business in another state, and we talked about that in this video as well, the first video. So go ahead and take a gander at that if you have questions about that, and then talk to a professional about, what makes best sense for you. Number 8, again, I keep focusing on these, but the number 8 and number 7 are critical. Money well spent up front. Speak to a business attorney about any legal considerations. And again, I'm not going to beat this one to death, but I really want to encourage you, if there's a series in here, this is a pretty good one, this video, the second video in the series. So speak to a business attorney. Number 7, interview a tax accountant and then hire a tax accountant. You don't want to necessarily be bogged down with doing the payroll or, weeding through the books. Maybe you do, but I challenge you to consider, unless you're starting an accounting firm, should you be doing it? Do you want to be doing it, right? And I'm going to say the answer is probably no. There's so many other things and enough things for you to focus on to help grow your business and to maintain and manage it well. Being an attorney or tax accountant is probably not what you want to be doing with your small business. And we have another bonus tip here. Get business insurance, right? A lot of reasons why you want to do that. Maybe not up front, but as you start engaging with larger businesses, cover this in depth as well, right? On the last video here for number 6 and number 5. So go ahead and watch that one and get the ins and outs. But this could be life-changingly important for you to actually do. Number 6, you got to establish a business checking account. Don't use your personal one. Unless you're doing a sole proprietorship, don't use your commingle and intermingle your business and personal accounts at all. Don't get in the habit of doing it. It's just not a good thing for you to do, and it's not clean. So talk to your accountant in terms of why, but you need to have why you don't want to do that. And then you need to have a business account, checking account, in order to get paid, in order to spend money. If you're going to spend money, it's easier for you to spend the money directly from your checking account. And then letting your attorney, your tax accountant at the end of the year when they go to do payroll, they can pull all of that and give you the appropriate, tax write-offs as well. So just make it clean, get your business account established, and then beware of all the charges and fees that are associated with your business account. It is not the same as a personal checking account. And you'll need your FEIN, by the way, to do that. And then number 5, developed a detailed and realistic pro forma. I know I've covered this in the last series that we did as well, but again, This is important, and this is something you want to update as you get more data, as you grow your business. You want to make sure you know what's going on, and how to forecast some things, because every year that goes by, it's gonna help you get a better understanding about the cyclical nature of your business and the cash flow that's involved there. So take a look at the last video, and then hopefully you'll get some good things from that as well. All right. And with that, establish a business line of credit, right? And so establishing, your checking account is good, but I'm just going to go through these bullet points because of where we are with our economy currently. And this is something that you may not feel like you need to do it. Maybe you have an influx of cash and you're going gangbusters right up front and you feel like I don't need it. Business is going to be great for a long, long time for me. But I'm here to tell you, you ask a lot of these business owners right now in the current state that we're in all over the world, if they wish they would have increased their line of credit or secured a line of credit when things were good. Bankers don't want to talk to you when you're struggling. They'll talk to you all day when you're doing well and you don't need the money, but that's not why you get it. It's harder for them to cut it off from you once you have it established in the good times than for you to have to go in and ask for it when you actually need it, because they're very risk averse. They don't want to lend to people that need it, and because they're not in business. They're in business to charge and make money off of your fees and interest. They're not risk takers. That's what you're there for. So I'm going to go through these bullet points, but again, this is something I want to strongly, even if it's $5,000, whatever you can, and then try and grow that. Don't use it and burn through it. That's not what it's for. But have it there, right, for that rainy day, right? Or maybe you need that bridge loan and it'll get you by because a contract payment hasn't come through, right? There's all kinds of reasons that you want to do this. So even if you don't need it or use it, establish a line of credit, and not a personal line, by the way, also. That's something else that I want to encourage you not to do. If you can at all avoid it, that's why you have this separate entity and it's considered a person in legal standards when you start a business and you have the right structure there in terms of an LLC, C Corp, S Corp. It's treated as an individual person that is not you, right? And so if you can establish a line of credit, an unsecured line of credit, right? Maybe you feel good about, establishing a line of credit based on your accounts receivable, right? Maybe you're in that type of business where you know that you have X number of dollars coming through by the service or product that you're offering, and you can, establish a line of credit that way. But if you can at all avoid it, do not put your house up, do not put your personal savings up. Don't do that. Establish, like I said, an unsecured line of credit. And even if it's a small one, it talks about that. You can always grow that, right? Use a little bit, but then pay it right away, so that that you're just building your credit and they'll be, more apt to raise that line of credit as you grow and need it. And then talks about using it sparingly. And once you do use it for a little bit, maybe 6 months, go in and say, hey, have some, businesses growing and might have a need because of the larger size contracts or, that are coming through, or the business is growing. Want to see if we can increase this, right? Don't look desperate when asking for it. So instead of having a $5,000 line of credit, maybe you have $10,000 line, right? But again, once they up it, they typically don't lower it, right? So you want to be cognizant of your growth with what your line of credit looks like. And then again, cash flow and access to credit is king. And there's so many businesses that are going under that if they just had one more month to keep the lights on, maybe they survive and maybe they grow to become enormous. There's so many business stories and success stories out there where they were down to their last dollar and they were able to survive another month, and then things turned around. Maybe that contract came through. Maybe they sold that extra product, or maybe that sale came through. You don't know, but you want to give yourself as big of a fighting chance as possible. So do it in the good times. And again, like I've already talked about, when the economy's bad, bankers don't want to talk to you. You're dead to them. I'm just telling you. And if you listen to my series at all, not a huge fan of bankers. So I'm not going to apologize for it either. They're good for what they're good for. That's what I'll say. All right. Number 3, establish a brand identity. So you may have a great product or service, you may have the best product or service, but you don't have a great brand. You don't have a great brand name. And there's so many companies and products that have, failed over the years, not because they had a better product or a worse product. They've had better products, but because they don't have a good brand name or identity that it resonates with people. I have a friend who started a food product service, food products, and again, seems like it's a decent product, but the name of his product is not very appetizing. And you know, I challenged him to rethink the the name. But again, he's doing all right, you know, and again, maybe the product itself will overcome the name, but you can have both. You can have a great product and a great name. So I'm just going to run through these bullets real quick with you. Think of a catchy, memorable name that fits the product or service you're offering, right? You don't want to have, you know, Paul's Jiffy Lube here and you're selling pizzas. That's pretty self-explanatory. Think of something that's catchy and identifies what it is that you're selling or offering. Hire a great freelance graphic artist that can make a great logo for you to go along with your great name that you just chose, right? Behind a business attorney or a tax accountant, hiring a good graphic artist, maybe you're decent at it, but if you hire a good graphic artist and that's just the way their mind works, they can take your name and blow your mind, right? In terms of what they come up with and give you a couple of options as well. Again, it's your time. If you're not great at art or graphic arts, and don't use the clip art stuff that's out there, please. You can, but it's something that will live with you forever potentially, right? Especially if you grow astronomically. There's a lot of considerations to changing your name, your brand, and your identity later on that you don't want to do, and then you're stuck with that, right? So hire somebody, and they're affordable. Good graphic artists are really affordable and just do remarkable work for you. So I encourage you to consider that as well. And then ensure you establish that you own the rights to the art that your graphic artist is producing for your company. So you need to get this in writing and understanding that if you pay a graphic artist for your logo, that they and you both in writing understand that you own that in perpetuity. You own it forever, and you want to get those files from them before you finish paying them. And again, and make sure you keep that documentation. You might even want to consider registering it with the Patent and Trademark Office of the United States as well. But again, don't go into misunderstandings, because you don't want them leveraging that, you know, for other customers, the work that they've done for you. So again, that's something that you really need to consider. And then the last bullet point here before we close out the video is ensure you get the full files, which I just covered, right? You know, again, make sure when they hand them over to you, make sure, you know, if you're using Illustrator or Photoshop and you're getting the raw files, make sure they don't send them to you flattened, right? So there's different layers that are in there, and I don't want to go into this, but make sure you get the unflattened files, you know, that you're handing off to them, so that you can then use them either yourself, or that you can hand them off to another graphic artist in the future. Maybe you grow so much that you hire a full-time graphic artist. They can then take and use the baseline of that product to, you know, grow it or change it to your needs. So that's it for this video. Next video, we're going to cover number 2. And before I send you off, again, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, hit the alert button, and share this video with somebody who could use this information.